You're the one everyone counts on. When a friend is falling apart at midnight, you pick up. When someone needs a favor, a ride, money they might not pay back, you say yes before they've finished asking. Giving is the easiest thing in the world to you. But watch what happens the moment it turns around. Someone tries to buy you dinner, and you're already reaching for your wallet. Someone gives you a compliment, and you deflect it before it can land. Someone offers to help, and you hear yourself say, "No, no, I'm fine," almost automatically, even when you are very much not fine. If you can pour yourself out for everyone around you, but something in you tightens the second you're asked to receive, this is for you, because that reflex isn't generosity and it isn't humility. It's a specific wound, and by the end of this, you'll know exactly where it came from, what it's quietly costing you, and how to begin undoing it. From the outside, you look like the strong one, the selfless one, the person who has it together enough to carry everyone else. And people love you for it, right up until they notice they can never do anything for you in return. Because here's the asymmetry almost no one names. Giving flows out of you effortlessly, but receiving won't come in. It hits a wall, and most people, including you, mistake that wall for a virtue. You call it being low maintenance, being independent, not wanting to be a burden. But underneath those pleasant words is something far less comfortable. And to understand it, we have to start with what psychologists have actually learned about people who give. The organizational psychologist Adam Grant spent years studying exactly this. And in his book, Give and Take, he splits the world into three kinds of people. Takers who try to get more than they give. Matchers who keep a careful balance. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And givers who contribute more than they take. Most of us assume givers are all the same. Grant found they're not. There are actually two completely different kinds. And the difference between them decides whether giving builds you a rich life or slowly destroys you. The first kind he calls otherish givers. They give generously, but they keep one eye on their own needs too. And the second kind, the one you might recognize a little too well, he calls selfless givers. High care for others, almost no care for the self. And here is the single most important thing Grant found about them, the detail that cracks this whole thing open. Selfless givers are deeply uncomfortable receiving support, and as a result, they receive far less of it than anyone else. Sit with that, because it's the whole puzzle in one sentence. The people who give the most are the people who can accept the least. Grant even has a blunt name for where this leads. He calls extreme selfless giving a form of pathological altruism, giving that has stopped being healthy and started eating the giver alive. These are the people who burn out, who get taken advantage of, who become the doormat everyone wipes their feet on and then wonders why they feel so empty. And you'd think the solution would be obvious. Just give less. But Grant found something stranger. Giving less isn't what saves these people, because it was never the giving that drained them. What drained them was giving and giving with no one ever pouring anything back in, running on a cup that empties and never once gets refilled. Which leaves us with the real question, the one underneath everything. Why? Why can you refill everyone else, but you cannot, for the life of you, let anyone refill you? To answer that, we have to go back, much further back than your last relationship, further back than the job that burned you out. We have to go back to a child, because almost nobody is born unable to receive. A baby receives without shame. It's the most natural thing in the world to be held, fed, comforted, given to. So something had to teach you to stop, and for a lot of people who grow into compulsive givers, that something was a very particular kind of childhood. The psychiatrist John Bowlby, the man who built the entire science of how children bond, described a pattern he called compulsive caregiving. It shows up in children who learned early that love wasn't something they simply received for existing. It was something they had to earn by being helpful, by being good, by being useful, by never ever being a burden. Sometimes this comes from a home where a parent was overwhelmed or unwell or checked out, and a child quietly stepped into the gap. Psychologists call it parentification, the role reversal where the kid becomes the caretaker, managing the emotions of the adults who were supposed to be managing theirs. That child learns a lesson so deep they never even hear it as a thought. The lesson is this: I am safe when I am the one giving care, and I am in danger when I am the one who needs it. Being the helper meant being valued, being kept, being loved. Being the needy one meant being too much, being a problem, being at risk of rejection. So you became exquisitely good at reading what everyone else needed and completely blind to the idea that you were allowed to need anything at all. And this is where giving and the inability to receive stop being two separate traits and reveal themselves as what they actually are: the same wound, wearing two different faces. You didn't just learn to give, you learned to not need. You trained yourself out of hunger. That reflexive, "I'm fine" isn't a lie you tell other people. It's a spell you've cast on yourself, because somewhere deep down, needing still feels like the most dangerous thing you could possibly do. So now as an adult, when someone tries to give to you, your nervous system doesn't register warmth. It registers threat. And to understand why receiving can feel almost physically unbearable to you, you have to see the three things that are really happening in that moment. The first is vulnerability. When you're the giver, you are safe. You're in the powerful seat, the one in control, the one who has it together while someone else has the need. But the instant you receive, all of that flips. Now you're the exposed one, the one who needs, the one who can't fully control what happens next. That tightening you feel when someone does something kind for you isn't modesty. It's the alarm of being moved, without warning, into the one seat you spent your whole life learning to avoid. The second thing is identity. If your entire sense of worth is built on being the giver, then receiving doesn't just feel awkward. It threatens the only version of yourself you know how to be. Who are you if you're not the one holding everyone up? What are you worth if you're not being useful? For a lot of givers, that question is genuinely terrifying, so they never let themselves get near it. They just keep giving, because giving answers the question and receiving reopens it. And the third thing is the ledger. Deep down, you keep a silent scoreboard, and on that scoreboard, you must always, always be the one who is owed, never the one who owes. Being given to puts you in debt, and debt to a nervous system that learned love could be taken away doesn't feel like connection. It feels like exposure, like you now have to earn your way back to even. So you refuse the gift, or you rush to repay it before the ink is dry, or you turn one kind gesture into an excuse to give back three. Anything, anything to get out of the unbearable position of having received something you didn't earn. And if you thought the cost of all this fell only on you, I need to show you the part that's genuinely harder to hear. Yes, the cost to you is real and it is heavy. You are the person Grant warned about, the selfless giver running toward burnout, giving from an emptying cup, attracting the exact takers who are happy to drain someone who never asked for anything back. But the deeper cost, the one you almost never see, falls on the people who love you most. Because a relationship, a real one, doesn't run on one person giving and the other person receiving forever. It runs on flow, back and forth, both directions. And when you refuse to ever receive, you quietly break that flow. You keep the people who love you permanently in your debt. You put them one down, always on the receiving end, never allowed to give anything back to you. Think about how that actually feels for them. They love you. They want to show up for you the way you show up for them. And every single time they try, you close the door with a smile and oh, don't worry about me. You think you're being generous. But from the other side, it can feel like being held at arm's length, like you don't trust them, like there's a version of you that you will never, ever let them near. That's the quiet tragedy hiding inside all that generosity. Giving that only ever flows one direction isn't intimacy. Sometimes, without you meaning it to be, it's a kind of control, a way of staying safe, staying in charge, never having to be the soft, exposed, needing one in front of another human being. The people around you don't want a flawless, self-sufficient monument who never needs a thing. They want you. And the you they're reaching for is the part you keep locked behind that reflexive, "I'm fine." So if you take nothing else from this, take this reframe. The reason you can't receive was never that you're humble, and it was never that you're selfless. It's that a long time ago, being useful became the price of being loved, and letting yourself be given to felt like losing the only ground you knew how to stand on. That's not a character flaw. That's a child who found a way to survive. But you're not that child anymore, and the ground is safer than it was. So how do you actually change it? Not with some massive transformation. Receiving is a skill, like any other, and it comes back the way any skill does, through practice, starting almost embarrassingly small. The next time someone offers you something, a compliment, a hand with something, a gift, a simple act of care, I want you to try one thing, and it's going to feel strangely difficult. Don't deflect. Don't minimize. Don't immediately reach to give something back. Just say thank you and then stop talking. Let it land. Let it be uncomfortable. Let yourself sit in the exposed seat for 3 whole seconds without scrambling out of it. That's the entire exercise, and for a lifelong giver, it can feel almost impossible the first few times, which is exactly how you know it's the thing you need to practice. And notice that you're not being asked to stop giving. You never have to stop giving. Grant's own research points straight at the way through. The givers who thrive, the ones who don't burn out, the otherish ones, are precisely the ones who learn to ask for help and let it in. Receiving isn't the opposite of generosity. It's the thing that keeps generosity alive. You have spent your whole life telling people you can't pour from an empty cup, and you have never once let anyone fill yours. Because the goal was never to give less. You will always be a generous person. That's not a defect to fix. It's one of the most beautiful things about you. The goal is to finally let it become a two-way street, to let the love flow back toward you as easily as it pours out. And notice how far that is from where we started. That wall in front of your ability to receive was never strength, and it was never virtue. It was a survival plan built by a kid who learned that needing wasn't safe, a plan that protected you then and quietly starves you now. You learned to be the giver because being the giver kept you safe and made you feel worthy of love. But here's the thing that child never got to hear. You were always worthy of care you didn't have to earn. You didn't have to be useful to deserve it. You didn't have to give first. Letting someone give to you isn't weakness, and it isn't selfishness. It is the exact thing that finally makes the love mutual, that lets the people who care about you actually reach you. And maybe the bravest thing a lifelong giver can ever do is the smallest. To stop just once in front of someone who loves you. To lower the hand that's always reaching out to help. And to let them, for once, hold the door open for you and walk through it.